That's right, it's that man again. How's it going, everybody? Happy Thursday. Yes, that's my fine cup of coffee, if I do say so myself. I grind my own beans, and this morning I chose, over the percolator, I chose my boiler, my coffee boiler, my cowboy coffee pot. And I mean, once I learned how to do it right, the flavor is really amazing. And I've converted a few people that were strong, staunch cream and sugar people to having a cup, just straight, nice black coffee, out of that pot. And they're like, this is coffee? I'm like, yeah, very robust. And it's very, it's not overly strong, at least not to me. Some people will like, whoa, that's strong. I'll be like, well, that's coffee. It's supposed to be strong. Anything lighter than that, it's tea. Don't get me started on my coffee rants. Yes. Anyways, this is a fun little mug. It was a gift from another collector and friend. And this was used to be offered through the Kirtman catalog. And I think it's something they might want to bring back, because these are really charming. These, vintage Dietz, printed coffee mugs are kind of cool. Anyways, you have to have your coffee out of a mug with lanterns on it. I mean, if we're going to be serious, right? I got a lot of mugs. I got a lot of old vintage mugs from the... No, I got tinware. I have enamelware. I got stuff that goes pretty far back, and all the way through the 1930s and 40s, and then of course some of the novelty stuff. But anyhow, we are enjoying a beautiful lantern and some early morning pipe. That's right, and in a Dunhill. Oh, that's very nice. That's lovely. Nice cup of black coffee and a little early morning pipe. Ah, it's a good Thursday. Off to the races. Yeah. There we go. Anyway, it's a nice morning. It's been very cool, very mild this morning, and I'm just like, thank goodness. I love a cool morning. Actually, in the cooler weather, I actually sleep a lot better, and that's important because, well, sleep is kind of hard to get sometimes. And in the summer, I get a lot less. I do. But anyways, it's been fairly mild. It hasn't been too terrible. At night, it definitely does cool down. It's lovely. It's fine. But we are burning a Rayo 82 here, and this has been on the channel, but not for a while. Thought I'd bring it back to the deck and burn a nice Rayo, since our channel is themed with Rayo merch. And there's a specific reason why I'm burning this today. Not because it's just a Rayo, but because it was made by the company that supplied Standard Oil with their Rayo brand lanterns. And that, in this generation, that would have been Pritchard Strong Stamping Company, or Pritchard Stamping Company, eventually. Strong left the company to pursue an automotive line of work. The industry was booming at that time. It was just really getting started. So a lot of industrialists started leaning or going in that direction. So yeah, Pritchard Strong became Pritchard, and they offered the Prisco brand lanterns. That's right, Prisco brand lanterns. Now, you've probably seen a few of them out there. You'll see them creep up on eBay or in the Tubular Lantern Collectors group on Facebook. So Prisco, they're good lanterns. I'm not going to say that they're not, because that would be a lie. They're fantastic. They're not overly fancy. They're very basically designed. I mean, this is just a handsome, no frills cold blast. But it's so well designed, it's very handsome, it's elegant. I'm just going to say that. It's elegant, And they do burn very well. I will say, all the claims, they are... it's accurate. It really is. So, yeah. But this is a cool piece. And I burn it often. I usually have this guy. This big copper reflector, little hat. It slips right over this, and I hang it up in the roof, in the ceiling of my garage, and I'll burn it, and it actually reflects beautiful, warm, copper pink-like light down when I'm sitting out here with some of the guys and we're having a little fun Friday night powwow, you know. And it's really great. It's a fun thing to have. I actually strongly suggest getting some of those reflectors from the Kirkmans. They're really high quality. You will not be disappointed by the quality at all. And they work. They work great. And they also look really nice. But anyhow, this guy is, you know, he was made by Pritchard Strong. And they had their own version of this, which was just a number 2, you know, copper fount lantern. It would just say Prisco number 2. This is a Rayo 82. Now, Rayo had a different numbering system than Prisco, and that's understandable because it was Rayo and it was a brand name of Standard Oil. Anyhow, there was a character associated with Prisco lanterns around 1910, 1915, give or take. And we're not exactly sure who he was, if he was real, or if he was, you know, a relative or somebody that one of the, you know, people knew in the company. But anyways, that would be Uncle Obadiah. That's right, and I'm going to drop him right here. You've probably seen this guy before. He's very recognizable amongst some of the hardcore lantern collectors. Now he's just you know, kind of a middle-aged gentleman sitting on a Prisco crate admiring his lantern. And if you look at that lantern, it's definitely one of these. It's, well, it's not a copper fount, but it's, well, from what I understand, it's probably the nickel-plated version number 2 Prisco. But finding one of those is pretty rare. They're not that common. But finding a number 2 Prisco that looks like this, same. They're not that hard to find. They made plenty of them. They did. They sure did. But yeah, this is a big cold blast. This thing is like, how tall are you? Probably pushing 15 inches, maybe 16 inches tall. It's a really large piece, and they do kick out a good amount of light. You can really get that flame cranked up, and they put out a decent amount of light. And I mean, it's cold blasts are going to be brighter than a hot blast in general. But this thing is just, it's well made. It's very easy to operate. Now, some of the collectors, they had 2 different lift styles depending on the generation and the era. And this one has the little tab back here. And you push this way and has this interesting sliding metal wire little linkage going on here. And so you press this down and it lifts it, right? And then you can lower it. It's very smooth. It's smooth, but a lot of people have trouble with them after 100 plus years because they can get rusty. So if you find one that's intact, definitely clean it. Definitely lubricate it before you operate it. It works very well when it's smooth and nice and clean on the little transmission there, the little linkage. It's all friction based leverage. Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's an interesting design, and it locks in place. It's actually very elegant. It's kind of a sophisticated lift design for that era, but they do break off because you have a soldered tube down here. See that? There's a little tube that the wire slides into, and it's soldered to the bottom of the air tube. Now, it's not a terrible design, but over time it doesn't last long because, you know, solder can weaken and can come loose, can break. So if you have more tension or, you know, rust, then it will freeze up and it will be very hard to operate and it will just break off. Or you've probably seen some that are completely missing, depending on how much they were used. So they do need some attention once in a while. They also did have a side lift that was more traditional. It was very similar to this one on the 17 here I have. So they did offer this side lift like this on some of their other larger cold blast lanterns by, I think, later on. Or earlier. It could be earlier. It could be prior to 1910. And then this interesting style came out, I think maybe 1915, 14, somewhere around there. It was in that window of time. But I'm not sure. I'm just speculating because there's really not a whole lot of information out there of where these fit in, when, what period. Now, they had larger fuel caps by 1910. If you see a Prisco lantern that has a smaller fuel cap, then that's earlier, of course. It's definitely earlier. Now, I believe they were starting to stamp out lanterns as early as 1905. That's when the company was founded and opened, and I think 1905 is kind of the first year, but 1909 for sure. But if you find anything that says Pritchard Strong on it, then it is prior to 1909, to my understanding. From what I've read, 1909 is when Strong left the company. So, yeah, if it says Pritchard Strong Company on it, it's more than likely prior to 1909. Makes sense. However, I'm not entirely sure how long they used Strong's name on the branding of the lanterns until they changed it. But, just have to see more examples to really kind of gauge it better. But these are not uncommon lanterns. I will say that. They are not uncommon lanterns. You can find Prisco marked cold blasts on eBay at any given time, more or less. You'll probably come across them at a yard sale sometimes, or an estate sale, or a swap meet or flea market, or an antique mall. They do turn up. They're not exactly incredibly rare. The copper fount ones, now this is an 82, but the Prisco version was just a number 2, and they made them with copper. They also made them bare tin. They offered one that was plated in nickel. So that would probably be a brass. I'm not only guessing brass, nickel plated. They made some very handsome, fancy style cold blasts in that era. Now this is, pretty standard. It would have been a bright tin with the copper fount, right? And of course the tin aged and oxidized. And this is how I more or less bought the lantern. I got it during the pandemic early on off of eBay for a very fair price. Not many people were buying lanterns at that time. It was very uncertain times, but, was bored and I got a good deal on it, and here we are. But anyhow, I love this piece. But Prisco, these things were actually pretty popular. Now, if you want to look at the 1915 Prisco catalog, you can. You can find the copy of it, the PDF form, on the Tubular Lantern Group under Files. You can find a scanned copy of the 1915 catalog there, or on LanternNet, which is Woody Kirtman's website for Kirkman lanterns, and you can follow the links and go to the catalog. Actually, I will drop a link in the description field for the Prisco catalog, so you can go right there and you can look at the entire catalog. But now, who are, lantern collectors who've done this a while, you probably recognize this guy. Now, this is Uncle Obadiah. Now, we are not exactly sure, as I was saying earlier, that where he fits into this, how he came about, if he's, fiction or real. He might be real or fictitious. I'm not sure. And I tried to do some digging on this guy, trying to read any kind of material I can find on the internet about Pritchard Strong, and if they gave any indication who Uncle Obadiah was. Now he's just quoted, as you can see, and it says down there at the bottom, it says, if it's a Prisco, it's worth more. Quoted Uncle Obadiah. I mean, he's just an old-timey, farmer type, seen a lot of things, experience in life, and he's kind of like the Pepperidge Farm guy, or Orville Redenbacher for that matter. I mean, he's kind of got that aesthetic, right? He kind of looks like that. He's got that going on, we'll say. So it's interesting that he does. And he's an interesting mascot for a company. I mean, that era had that. People respected maturity in that time. Life experience was definitely respectable. And, there was not a whole lot of respect for the youth or the young. People liked being young, but people respected maturity. And that was just kind of the way it was. It was all the way up until, when I was a kid, it was still like that. Children and youthful people were, envied, I'd say, by the more senior members of our society, but respected. No, we didn't live enough life to have a real opinion about anything. I think youth culture has definitely come about, and maturity and life experience has definitely taken the back seat in the media and pop culture. But in this era, a guy like this, you listen to him because he's been around. He's experienced life, and he's going to have an educated opinion on something. And not overly educated, but, savvy. And full of wisdom. I guess that's what they were going for. But anyways, what I'm going to share with you is something I've wanted for a bit. And this is kind of special because when I found it recently on eBay, and I had to have it. And it was actually pretty affordable considering the rarity of this piece and what it is. But pinbacks are kind of on the collectible side. Certain ones definitely can bring a lot of money. But here, we have it. There you go. I got one. That's right. Uncle Obadiah is now in the collection. That's right. There he is with his lantern on his Prisco crate. If it's a Pritchard, if it's a Prisco, it's worth more. Uncle Obadiah. So, that's kind of fun, really. Right? I think so. I'm going to put this on for the video. If I could figure this out. It's kind of interesting how it's designed. It's kind of cantankerous. It's not a regular pinback. It's got a bend in it. But anyways, there we go. You see it? It's still kind of in the frame there. Anyway, for any of those sellers out there or lantern dealers, don't take that literal. Just because it's a Prisco doesn't mean it is worth more. Well, it depends on the example, I guess you could say. There are some that do fare a good price. Now, these copper founts, they're definitely desirable. People like a copper fount or a brass fount. It's an interesting, style, and they don't rust. That's the thing that people like about them. But the brass can age and split on occasion, depending on how much it was used and where it was stored and all that. Copper is a little more stable. It doesn't have that splitting side effect that brass does. So you'll probably find a lot more copper examples. But, there's nothing overly fancy about this lantern. No, but that's because it came out during the Edwardian period. So in the arts and crafts or Edwardian period really was a departure from the Gilded Age. So in the 1890s, things were, I don't know, you saw some fancier things. And, definitely some other companies still made some rather lavish, extravagant looking tubulars, especially in Canada. Oh my gosh, Ontario Banner and those guys. There was some beautiful, very detailed lanterns that had all the flourishes. And one of these days I will find one. I will try and afford one of these days. So they're great, but anyway, here comes helicopters and probably hear sirens. The world is starting to wake up now. But anyways, Pritchard Strong, or Pritchard Stamping Company, they went with a very elegant. Do you mind? Really? Come on, guys. Come on, Riptide. Move it along. Come on, Airwolf. Get out of here. Airwolf. Who's old enough to remember those shows? I know I am. Yeah. Anyways, a lot of you guys probably remember those shows. But anyhow, there she is. This thing is a product of the Edwardian period, as I was trying to say. And that aesthetic became a lot more simplistic, a lot less fussy, a lot less frilly, a lot less gingerbready, a lot less designed, I guess you could. Well, this is designed, but it's designed to be a minimalist approach. It's stately. It's not overly, you know, embellished. Now, not to say that there was other companies that were going just for this. Look, now Embry did embrace this aesthetic as well, but they also did make some lanterns with some fancy tooling. And you've seen that Marswell's lantern I have, and it's got that, you know, kind of, you know, ivy scroll work there, and then the chain, you know, design on the tubes. Now, there were some exceptions, of course, in the 1910s, but most of them were more or less very sparse, and that's because it was easy to service, and it wasn't overly fancy, and it was a tool. It's a tool. It was designed to be used in a lot of different applications, and it didn't need to be fancy. It wasn't going to be sitting in your parlor on a doily. It wasn't. That's not the intent. People really didn't like their homes with tubulars, you know, unless it was, you know, unless they were kind of living off the grid in a cabin. But they still had table lamps, and they had some nice table lamps and hanging fixtures that were more domestic looking. Lanterns like this were definitely more common, taking out back to the outhouse at night, going to the barn, or working around the property, or, you know, going for a walk or walking the dog, whatever you had that you needed a light for. This was your flashlight. This was a portable means of light, and definitely used on a lot of jobs. You know, it is in all intents and purposes a tool. So tubulars were great because they could withstand a lot of wind in high wind scenarios and storms, and that's why these became kind of known as hurricane lamps, is because they could withstand the strength of a hurricane. That kind of gale wind forces could not blow out one of these lanterns, and that was one of the appeals. Now, here's the interesting thing. If these are burning and there's rain, well, chances are your globe's going to crack, guaranteed. Yeah, so that kind of like was interesting. You know, you have these lanterns that are named Cyclone, Hurricane, Blizzard, and they could withstand a lot of wind and all that, as I was saying. But if any elements were to come in contact with a hot globe, especially say snow or rain, well then kind of have your answer, I think. But anyways, it's a nice thought. But yeah, they were definitely popular in storm-like scenarios, and you know, a lot of people by that time, even if they had electricity, they did have a couple of these on hand in case the power went out, which was not uncommon in the early electrification era. So yeah, burning kerosene, you know, that was still a thing back in those days. So, but yeah, Pritchard Strong. If you guys want to take a look at that catalog, as I said, the description field has got the link to the full PDF. Holy cow, that is a loud garage door. Did you hear that screeching? Oh my goodness. Anyways, you can find it there. I'll leave the link down there, and you can take a look and check it out. So, for whatever it's worth, I know they're not overly fancy or collectible, but they are beautiful. And, you know, just looking at this thing and how well designed it is, it's simple, but it's well proportioned. And that's why we kind of like these things, is because they were designed, they were styled. And, you know, a designer had to come up with this design. So they got the patents on the overall design of things for the mechanism, the burner, and all that stuff of the proper combustion to get the right flame. And then you had a design team that went in and designed it, drew it all out. Hey, that's rude. Designed it. Come now. Use your cell phone if you want somebody to come out. Text them, for crying out loud. Really? Some things never change. Anyways, one more time. Do we have a third honk? No. Okay. Might edit that out. Anyway. So, I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted. These things were designed. So you had, you know, an office where you had drafters and designers. Draftsmen, you know. It wasn't a drafty office. It was draftsmen, you But they illustrated and came up with the designs of these things, and then they were applied and produced. Yeah. But yeah, this is a big piece. This is a big piece. It really is. It's 16 inches tall. It's a big lantern. So I'm going to appeal to some of you guys out there that are into vintage camping. Now, I've seen a lot of great impressions. Beautiful kits, beautiful setups, beautiful trailers, beautiful old tents, all that pre-war stuff. It's fantastic, and it takes a lot of time, sometimes a lot of money, to procure and use antique camping equipment. It really does. But there's always an area that's overlooked, and I've noticed this. And I'm not trying to come down on anybody, but I'm just saying you could up your game with one of these, because I've seen a lot of, Walmart kerosene lanterns, the Chinese red ones with the stickers and stuff on there. Yeah, they're affordable. They're $10, and they're easily to buy. And if it breaks, so what? So what? If it breaks, if it gets broken, so what? But a lot of you guys still use the same lanterns you have for years, so the chances of breaking a lantern on a camp trip is never zero, but it's also very low. I've had this out to camp, and it's fine. Actually, the globe that came with this lantern cracked just in my front yard, and it was just because I was burning it too high. And the temperature changed outside from warm to cool, and the globe just kind of says, I'm done, and it cracked. But luckily, I was able to find another one for a very fair price. But anyhow, at that rate, you can get cold blast globes that are unmarked, that are generic for very cheap, and you can use those and burn them on your camping trips. But you can also have a nice big #2 cold blast for more light, so you can bring fewer lanterns. What am I saying? Fewer lanterns. You can bring fewer lanterns and produce more light with a big cold blast like this, and it will last you hours and hours. I mean, this fountain will probably last 30 hours when it's full, and you get a lot more light. And if you get one of these, it will cast the light down to where you want it to be. It's great for a tabletop or hanging over whatever you want to use, whatever, if you're cooking and whatever. I highly recommend those hoods. They're great. But anyway, so yeah, do yourself a favor. You can find a Prisco. Really, what is now? More squirrels? You can find a Prisco made lantern, a Rayo or Prisco, on eBay at any given time, and you might expect to pay up to $100. $100 seems like a lot. It kind of isn't now. It really isn't that much now. I know it is a lot more compared to $10, but you're getting something that's going to be not only more durable, but also collectible. And you could also sell it for more or less what you paid for it at any given time. But sometimes I've been able to find these for less. Yes, I've found these for less. For under $100. For under $50, for heaven's sakes. So, yeah. And I've sold them. I haven't kept a whole lot of my big cold blasts because I don't need that many. But yeah, this is a good piece. I'm going to keep this one because of the copper and the aesthetic. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, do yourself a favor. If you reach out to me, I can definitely help you find one. If you're into vintage camping and you want to, get some nice period lanterns that are absolutely usable and provide better light and durability, let me know. I'll find one for you. Okay? Now, I think that will be us. That will be it for us today. Right, Uncle Obadiah? Let's see if I can get this off now. It's kind of... There we go. Is that cool? I'm really happy about that. That's a cool button. I have many old buttons. Actually, I should do a video just on old pin backs. Yeah. But this is cool. This is ticking a big box for me because I do like Prisco lanterns, and well, I do more or less have the outfit he's wearing. I could probably dress up as Uncle Obadiah for Halloween. Well, guys, I guess my card on my camera decided that I was done. it ran out of space. So, you know, we'll just have to finish the video this way from the camera of my phone. Oh well, worse things have happened. Anyways, I was about to wrap it up when I was so rudely interrupted. This video has been full of interruptions, hasn't it? Not my finest work, but got the job done. So I hope you enjoyed this focus on Pritchard strong lanterns. I've had several Priscos. If you go a little further back, you'll see that I've shared several Prisco lanterns. I used to have a beautiful number O with an amethyst tint globe and all that stuff, and of course a Rayo 77. I also had a Prisco number 2 Cold Blast, which I did sell to a friend, a local guy collector here in Monrovia, and he loves it. He enjoys it. He takes it camping, so could be worse. He's actually been using it, so that's good. Anyhow, I'll probably find another one. They usually do come around. So, as I was saying, if you're a serious vintage camper, don't bother with the Chinese junk. Don't do it. Get one of these. Yeah, heck, if I find one, if I have a spare or I find one, I'll let you guys know, and I'll let you guys fight over it. Anyways, they are out there. Find a Prisco. They're not that rare, and they are beautiful operating lanterns, and I highly recommend them. You could say that I'm an Uncle Obadiah to a degree, in my own regards. Yeah, this guy. Oh, don't be upside down, Obadiah. There you go. There you go, Unc. Anyways, always having fun out here. Always trying to be, I guess, entertaining and make the collectability and collecting world not take itself so seriously, right? After all, we're all different and we're all unique for liking what we like. So, absolutely. But go find yourself a Prisco lantern if you don't have one already. Hopefully one that's in good shape, and you can clean it up a little bit and get it burning like this one. I think you'll like it. I highly recommend it. Yes, sir. Anyways, and for those who might have a Prisco crate, well, that's something I'm after. So maybe we could work on a deal. Maybe. Anyhow, that's enough out of me. We'll let you guys go for this week. And thanks again for stopping by. And we'll see you again next Thursday. All right. Take it easy.